What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day Rock 2000. Today, happy Tuesday, everybody. It is April 7th. We're about a week before tax day, but tax day got extended for us in America, so ooh-ah, yeah. Alrighty, enough with that stuff. So, you guys think I got another interview for you today? Do you? Because you better believe I do. Alright, but before we do that, I gotta go through the shameless plugs. So you guys know what the shameless plug section is all about. That is where, if we had advertising at this point, hey, this is where I put it, but I don't at the moment. So yeah, I'm just gonna promote my stuff. So please follow My Song of the Day Rock 2000 today on all social media platforms. Facebook, find out anytime anything is released from the Song of the Day selection, the podcast episodes, YouTube videos, whatever it might be. Twitter, same thing, but it's a lot easier to talk to us on Twitter, so go and do that. Follow us on Instagram because that is our most, important, biggest platform to date. Everything is found on there that was on Twitter and Facebook, but on Instagram we also do our IGTV series every single Tuesday night, and that's behind the scenes look at what's going on with us, and our Instagram live stream every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. That's an hour for you guys to come on Instagram and talk to me about whatever we feel like, because we always have fun on those. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find the podcast videos on YouTube along with our album reviews and a lot of other videos. The podcast for the Chord Progression Podcast is found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and again on YouTube. Everything in the description below for links, and please enable our Amazon Alexa skill, because that's where you can hear the whole entire Song of the Day selection. Now, the Song of the Day selection is the most important thing because it is what really grows us, because it allows you to fall in love with the bands you used to love. It allows you to fall in love with bands you're going to love. It allows you to really just expand your horizons of rock and metal and be in a community where people love to talk about that kind of music. So please, please, please listen to all that stuff, and listen to our Small Band Saturday features, because all those bands that are young, that might be the biggest bands at the end of the 2020s, you can find them on Small Band Saturday. So go enable that on your Amazon Echo. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show, because, well, this was back around, I think maybe 2 weeks ago or so. So there's this band out of Italy called Waves in Autumn, and they reached out to me and said, hey man, can you feature our brand new single Yellowstone as a Song of the Day feature? And I said, let me listen to it. So, of course, I jump in, I take a listen to it, and it is metalcore goodness. Like, ooh, yeah, that's something that really hits your ears, right? So after listening to it, I'm like, you know what? Let's feature it. I can't feature till the end of the month. I have everything already set up to feature a lot of these things. So I can't feature at the end of the month. But if you guys want to do a podcast episode with me, I am totally down to do it, because, well, we've done one with Sing the Canvas. We've done one with Eli, and I'm like, let's get the trifecta for Italian bands and let's just keep growing it. So let's see if we can get Waves in Autumn on. And did they say yes? Well, I wouldn't be doing this intro if they said no, so they said yes. So let's get on into it. We have Davide, the lead singer, and Lorenzo, the lead guitarist from Waves in Autumn here right now. So sit back, get your popcorn ready, and let's go! Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fans of the Chord Progression Podcast, here with me today is yet another band out of Italy. This is our third in a row, so please welcome two of the guys from the band Waves in Autumn. Guys, how you doing today?
Hi. Everything okay? I guess about the situation, it's almost okay.
Oh, yep, yeah. Same thing over here. So let's start out with some introduction, just because I want to make sure everyone knows who you are. So Lorenzo, let's start with you first.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo Airoldi, and I'm the guitarist from Waves in Autumn. And you're with me. We got also my friend Davide.
Hi guys.
Alrighty, well, welcome.
He's the vocalist.
We've got the vocalist Davide and the guitarist Lorenzo. So welcome to both of you. And just to start out with how we got connected so everybody knows, I'm not sure. I think, Davide, do you run the Instagram account?
Yeah, I run the Instagram account and all the social medias of the band, aside from doing my vocal stuff. So yeah, I contacted you, the page, and yeah, we get in touch. So yes,
Yes.
I run the Instagram.
So Davide contacted me about this new song that Waves in Autumn has called Yellowstone. Wanted me to listen and see if we can get it featured. And right away when I saw the message, I thought, you know what? I've had so much luck with these Italian metalcore bands and like alternative metal bands. Let's give it a listen. Let's give it a shot and let's see what happens. And trust me, it will be featured sometime later in the month. I will tell you what day it will be featured at the end of the podcast to kind of keep you guys on your toes for all those who are listening. So get ready for that. But when we're going to start out, I always like to start out at the beginning. So Davide, Lorenzo, either or of you guys can start. So let me ask you this question first. Let's go all the way back to the beginning when you both of you started getting into music. So when you started getting into music, what was the music that you were listening to? What were the bands that you really liked to listen to? And how did that shape your musical taste and the style of music that you play today?
You go first.
Okay. So for what about me, I think that I started getting in touch with music in a serious way when I was about, I think, 11, 12 years old. And almost classic stuff that I found maybe in my father's CDs or around old MP3 players, stuff like that. And I guess it was in the very early beginning, very classic stuff, Metallica, AC/DC, and those kind of things. But then around 15 years old, I discovered that there was really heavy metal. And so for some years, I really was into thrash, death metal, those kind of stuff. And then later, around my 20s, I've come to hardcore music and everything around. And all of these kinds of melt together in what we do right now. But mostly, I think we are very influenced by the latest metalcore of the last, 5-6 years. Big bands like While She Sleeps right now are one of the bands that I think inspired us the most. And I don't know, there's really a lot to say about it, but I'll go like this. So also Davide has some nice things to say about it.
I started to listen very different to music when I was around 7, 8 years old, and I discovered Linkin Park, the AMV videos of Dragon Ball. Started to listening rock music and alternative music in that way. When I was older, like around 12, I discovered metal music, more heavier music like Bless the Fall, bands like that. And also Rise Against. I can see the t-shirt.
Yes!
Really nice. Punk rock stuff and along with heavier stuff like Lamb of. And a person which had an important role in this way was Lorenzo, because I met him when I was 12 in a holiday camp.
Some kind of vacation, summer camp. Yeah. We were really long time friends.
And he saw that I was listening to Linkin Park, and he said, well, you know Linkin Park, you have to listen something heavier, like really hard music. And he suggested me like In Flames, Slayer, and Dropkick Murphys, like you know that.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah. At the beginning, I was not really into that stuff, but when I was like 14, 15 years old, I began listening to that music, like very heavy stuff, death metal, black metal. And later I discovered that my favorite sound was the one of August Burns Red and this kind. And then in the past 3 years, I discovered the more hardcore oriented stuff. So now my favorite genre is definitely hardcore metal, and it's what inspires me the most when I do music.
I was going to say that it seems like the journey in music where both Lorenzo and Davide, both where you went from starting out with more of that classic rock stuff, that classic metal stuff like Metallica, AC/DC, because that's what your dad listened to. And then you started getting more into your own musical taste, especially with Linkin Park as well, which I absolutely love because I'll say this honestly, who didn't like Linkin Park, especially around the time of Hybrid Theory and Meteora and Minutes to Midnight? Like that early mid 2000s Linkin Park was so phenomenal that you can play it at any given time and people are going to be singing along to it. And I still think if you're ever at a big live show for any band within rock and metal, and in between the sets, they're always going to be playing some type of music just to kind of keep the crowd a little bit, in the spirit a little bit.
And
there's I was going to say Linkin Park, if you play Numb by Linkin Park, it's not the heaviest song of theirs, but everyone will sing along to it. It's very similar to like what happens if they play Chop Suey by System of a Down in between sets. The crowd will just sing along and go nuts, and it's so much fun.
That's definitely true. And, around that time, like mid first 20s, there's so much incredible stuff that came out, and I think that for what we do now, most of the bands came out in those kind of years, like 2006 and to 2008, like August Burns Red, also As Lay Dying, those kind of bands where I think our real first step to get really passionate about metalcore, and then we discovered the more contemporary hardcore. So, the very interesting thing is that the more you go on, you always discover something that it gets you like, wow, mind blown. Then, sometimes it just, it's just, going through one style and listening, and then discover his evolution. And it's really like this, we get a lot from those kind of things.
Plus, one other thing I'm seeing with metalcore bands, especially the two that you just mentioned, Lorenzo, I mean, they've been around for over 10 years at this point. I mean, August Burns Red has been around close to around 20 already. And you take a listen to their latest albums. I mean, As I Lay Dying, coming back with Shaped by Fire, they did not miss a beat at all. And it sounds fantastic. And then you go over to August Burns Red, which just released Guardians the day before we shot this podcast. And I mean, I listened to the whole thing. I've got my review set up. It's going to be out on YouTube the day before I release this podcast. But I got to say, they really went in a direction for metalcore that they're well known for, but a lot of bands aren't going, where a lot of bands are going more towards like a softer, more electronic sound. And they just went the opposite direction. They went so much harder, and I gotta say, it was worth it. So when it comes to metalcore, one thing I'm gonna add on top of that is, especially with the genre that Waves in Autumn really fits in with that metalcore genre, it shows that there are bands there that as they keep growing, and as like even the bigger bands, like they keep growing and their sound stays just as hard. Like they don't really like relent or anything, I should say.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But we speak a lot about those things, like during when we hang out, and we are always have been passionate about these things. That you can do metalcore and being also heavy and being energetic, and you can do it. Also like mixing different influences, like August Burns Red are a huge inspiration, because in their songs there is a lot of different things in the I don't know what to say, but I will go with cauldron of metalcore. Then you got jazz, you got even folk music, you got a lot of hardcore and also very heavy metal. And yeah, that's incredible. And you can actually, in my opinion, stay heavy, but also do a lot energetic and enjoyable metalcore and also melodic.
And I think where that energetic part comes in too is especially with the mix between heavy metal and hardcore punk rock. A hardcore punk rock especially is what drives it. And for myself, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of punk rock. I mean, I'm wearing Rise Against t-shirts. I've got like I don't know how many of them hanging up above my head right now, probably like 9 or 10. But when I was starting this whole entire project, it was like, well, I liked metal, but I didn't find anything that really fit me very well until someone like begged me and pleaded with me, like, you have to listen to this band. They're metalcore. I think you'll like them. And the first metalcore band I really listened to and really started getting into was Motionless in White. And it just kind of took off from there because it was like I could hear the hardcore punk in there, but it was a type of metal that it's like, this is something I absolutely love. And then as time went on, it's like, okay, I'm finding more bands I absolutely like. And then the one that just kind of set me way over the edge was Ice Nine Kills. So when you guys sent me your stuff and it was, okay, this is metalcore, of course, first thing I'm gonna do is jump head first into it and listen to it the whole entire way through, because if it's metalcore, I want to find that energetic punk rock style in there mixed with that heavy metal feel. And after listening to Yellowstone, I mean, we'll get into that in a little bit, but because I actually really want to get into it and talk about a couple of things on it, but I still want to go back to the beginnings again. So we're going to, instead of beginnings of what, your guys' journey into music, what was the beginnings like for Waves in Autumn? So when did you guys decide to make the band and make music your life?
Okay, this is really, I think, a funny story, but I don't know. I'll go. Or you want to say something, Davide?
It's well, my story began later than Lorenzo's because I'm the last add to the formation. But I started to play with them when we started as Waves in Autumn, because before there was another formation, another group with another name and some other vocalists in the years. But it's funny because the first vocalist of Lorenzo and the other musicians is the one who taught me to scream.
Yeah.
After a few years, they were searching another vocalist, and I began to scream in the new formation with a new name, which was Waves in Autumn.
Yeah, I want to. I want really to tell you the story because it's really interesting. As we were mentioning before, me and Davide are really longtime friends. And so, as he said, that we had, me and the other guys in Waves in Autumn started earlier bands for like 2 or 3 years before joining with him. And the story goes that I have met the other guys, which are respectively Michael, David, and Ronnie, which are our bassist, second guitarist, and drummer. We were all really passionate about this metalcore kind of music, August Burns Red, As I Lay Dying. And after a couple of projects, definitely. And after a couple of projects, which were actually some pretty difficult situations, like very early bands, young things, and then also some fail, we just decided to take another band and do metalcore as we four people really felt it and want to give our way of making the genre. We were searching for a vocalist, and at one evening, I've gone seeing his band. At the time, Davide was singing in another band with some of his friends. He was very young, and when I say when I've gone to the show, I've seen him screaming on the stage, and I was like, oh my God, I never expected that he was able to scream so good. And he's really young, because actually, to be precise, I am like 25, and we are all 25, 27, but he's a little younger than us. He's
19.
And like yeah, and so he was 16. I've seen him on the stage, and I said, okay, I need this guy in the band. He's a long-time friend, and also I've gone to the other guys and said, really, trust me, he is young, but he knows what he's doing.
I mean, wow, that is fantastic. I love, and I'm going to go back to Davide in a little bit, but I really like the fact that you guys have been long-time friends, and when it came down to just trying to figure out exactly what to do, all of a sudden you see Davide scream, and it's just kind of that moment where all of a sudden it's okay. That's the piece we're missing in the band. That's what we need. So, Davide, you said that the vocalist prior to yourself for Waves and Autumn was the one that taught you to scream, correct?
Yeah, the first one, which is a closer friend. He is also the one who recorded us the last two singles. His name is Stefano, and he's another closer friend, but he's into other stuff. He's in a band which do power metal and more classic metal style, progressive style. So he didn't fit very well in the past formation.
Okay, so, I would say I'm gonna just quickly interrupt you, but that does make sense. And the fact that that he recorded your previous two singles like that just shows that there really is no bad feelings between you guys. Oh. And I'm gonna bring up. I was gonna say I'm gonna bring up another band that's done something very similar to this with A Day to Remember, where their original lead guitarist decided to leave because he had other passions and wanted to focus on raising his family. However, if you watch some of the their music videos, he's still in them, and he ends up recording and producing their albums. So just kind of it all comes full circle. So I'm gonna going back to Davide on this one. So, what was it like learning how to scream? Looks like excuse me, Davide. I think it's kind of cut off on me for a little bit. So
yeah,
I think this isn't I'll say this isn't the first time I've had weird technical issues like this. So,
but it's a problem also here. There's internet is very stressed.
Is it just because of everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely that.
Yeah. All right, let's try this again, Davide. Do we got you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me reiterate the question. What was it like learning how to scream?
Well, it was like very natural. I think because I wanted to scream since I was very young. When I watched the video of Undefeated, I guess by Bless the Fall, and I saw the studio version video, and I watched this guy screaming. So since that moment, I always wanted to learn to scream when I was 12, and when I was 14. I asked Lorenzo because he was the only one guy who I knew who listened to metal, if he knew someone who can teach me how to scream. And he said, well, my vocalist can teach you to scream. If you want, you can get in touch with them. So here is his name, and write to him on Facebook, and then I wrote to him, and he taught me the technique. At first, it was hard because I had to figure out how to do the technique. In the video lessons you can find online, it's not so easy to understand because there's not a person right in front of you who hear what you are doing. So and you don't hear the feeling in the vibrations, so in the air. So you don't get really much the sound, how how it goes out. So having someone who can listen to what I was doing was really much helpful. And yeah, after 2 weeks that I was trying to came up with a scream. I screamed for the first few times, and then after understanding the right positions in my throat, I keep doing it like for a month, and it just got better over the years. Like just doing it, but aside from this, I had I got some lessons of singing, normal singing, and that was really helpful because I managed how to use my voice in general and to use my breathing. So it came up naturally, like just singing and distorting the voice in that technique with that technique.
Are there any specific vocalists that you look to for inspiration when it comes to screaming and singing with those unclean vocals, especially within metalcore? Because when you're listening to the genre and you're listening to the music within it with the bigger bands that are around there, I'm just wondering if there's a certain band or a certain frontman that you're looking towards. It's like, that's the guy I really want to scream like, or not necessarily scream like. That's the guy that with that kind of a sound, I want to achieve my sound to be on that kind of a scream, whether it's a very deep scream, a scream that has a much higher pitch to it, whatever it might be.
Well, I'm on a philosophy which is the more I sound like myself, the better it is. But if I have to look up to someone, especially with interaction with the fans over the stage, is definitely I guess Brian Garris from Knocked Loose. And Marcus Bridge from North Lane. They are sick vocalists. I love them. Marcus Bridge is one of the most complete vocalists in the history of metalcore. He can do whatever he wants, so it's sick. Also, I think I don't know. Jake Lars from August Burns Red. I love him kind of screams, like he do every type of harsh vocals and in a very unique way. So I love his tone. It's fantastic. He's so energetic and he has very emotional parts. He can deliver in a way that it's unique. He's very emotional in his vocals, so I love that style. Yeah, definitely. A strange thing is that, funny thing is that one vocalist I love, absolutely love, but only in the featurings he did. He is the one from Every Time I Die. I don't remember the name, but the one from Every Time I Die, I love his tone, but I don't listen to them. I like in every featuring he made is like the best part of harsh vocal style I listened are his featurings. But I don't get on his band. I don't know why.
I'll say that's just music, though. There are times where you're going to find a band where you like a certain part of it, but you just can't fully get into it. And Davide, I absolutely love the answer you gave on that one, where it was, I want to sound like myself, but if there's someone if there's vocals I'm looking up to, I'm looking up to them for what they do with their audience, what they do at their live shows, not necessarily what they sound like, because you want to sound like yourself. Absolutely love that. Now I've been wanting to get into this, so I want to jump into it. Let's jump into the single that you guys sent me to have featured on for a Song of the Day feature. And it's going to happen because I listened to it and I liked it. So we're going to go into the song Yellowstone. So this is the most recent single from Waves in Autumn. And the first thing I want to talk about with this song is the meaning behind the song. Because when I looked online and looked on your Spotify, seeing what the meaning was, I believe I got something. The song is about wild nature and its raging freedom, viewed as a metaphor for anyone who wants to truly deliver his soul and expression through music. So, when you were writing this song, what was the inspiration to get to that meaning?
It's funny because I was like at my uncle's home, and I was like around Christmas time, and I saw a documentary about Yellowstone on the TV. And we were inspired in that period by bisons, because it's a very unique animal which was in a dangerous situation a few years ago, but then he started to keep living. So I watched this documentary on the television where there was some bisons, and I was very inspired by the atmosphere of the video, because there were so much no trees like Yellowstone Park, and I was so much into that mood of watching those bisons like starving but still living, and that was, I don't know, like they are so strong, they are so powerful, and even if the man tried to kill them all, they still live. It's mind blowing. It's something I can like raising freedom. Yes, the meaning of the lyrics is like when I say true nature of my soul. It's like when I am on a stage. That's the behind the lyrics. I say.
Oh, looks like we lost him.
When I do you still hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit. You were talking about how this connected with the delivery of your soul through the music. So I'd say just pick up right then and there, and then we'll get back into it.
Yes, it's like getting more instinctive, getting more natural. I don't have to think to anything. I just am myself, right in the moment, the here and now. It's yes, it's like this is the true core of the meaning of the song.
I was going to say, I never thought that a song like this would have its inspiration driven from a bison documentary, but seeing how it's called Yellowstone and now putting it together, it makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Also, I want to say that we are all pretty I know we really like been also really in touch with nature some way. We are all people that when hang out stays a lot on the open space, and we always had some kind of fascination for those atmospheres and the wide forests, snows, and mighty animals. And also what Davide was saying about the bison, which is endangered. We some way choose that as a metaphor for also, our feeling of the kind of, there's a lot of people, that you maybe feel they are trying taking you down when you do music. It's very difficult. It's like it's very difficult also just to deliver your songs to someone, even if today we have Spotify, we have social media, and the people which have enough resilience and which always want to try are a constant inspiration. And we want it to be this way, and also the bison, which is endangered, there's no more elements of that species because things are getting in change, but we are still searching inspiration in even I don't know how to explain it, maybe an endangered race, maybe people which are somehow fading, I don't know, but we felt some way like that, and we drive a parallel between what we felt and the metaphor of the bison.
Yeah, the bison is definitely a metaphor for the musicians nowadays. That's our thought. So take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Well, you can use it as a metaphor for musicians, but as well as just people right now, due to the fact of everything that humans are going through with the whole entire coronavirus pandemic. Because I know, as the making of this podcast, I know global confirmed cases have topped 1 million. So kind of when it comes to that resilience, we're going to get through this. We just got to be resilient about it and just try different things to get through it, which is very similar to music as well, because I love what Lorenzo was talking about, where you have this it's not like it was 20 years ago when it comes to trying to get people to listen to your music. When it comes to trying to get your music out there, it's no longer trying just to sell CDs or get radio play, because people are consuming and listening to music in much different ways. They're streaming it on Spotify. They're watching the videos on YouTube, and they're finding it through social media as well. So when it comes to trying just to get discovered, there are no real, what I would say, gatekeepers or people in front of you. It's like, in order to get your stuff heard, you have to get into a record company, you have to get a record deal, but you have to get through these barriers first before you even get your sound heard. Now it's completely different, where you don't have to go through that. But the difference is there are so many more people that are putting their stuff out there, putting their music out there. So you have to find a way to get it heard by as many people as you can, whether it's just putting it out on Instagram and maybe running an ad against it just so that people will listen to it. Something like contacting me to get a Song of the Day feature and doing a podcast, or, potentially doing if it was possible from where you guys are right now, getting together and doing a basically like a live show, but online, which there's a good amount of bands that we're doing that here in America, but
That will be something incredible. I have to say that, but the situation right now here where we are, it's pretty complicated because we can't get together because we need to stay home. Everyone confined because the situation here is has taken. I don't know. It's pretty bad, even for all the Italy. Our city in particular is the one where most people have been.
Situation.
Yeah, here a lot of people died, and we really felt that there's an emergency. So we really want to do something like that, but right now it's not possible, and because also we can get together in more than 2 people. We can, get to the rehearsal space. We really need to be safe at home, and so we are trying to keep in touch, everyone, with each other, and keeping it up, and hoping that everything will go for the better way. We are working for it.
Well, that's pretty much what I'd say you're supposed to do, because when you're, and Yellowstone is a perfect song for this as well, because you're in a situation where you can't get to that rehearsal space. You can't meet up. You can't really go outside unless it's absolutely necessary. However, when it comes to the resilience, you have to be able to find the opportunities that are available to you now. And especially going heavy on social media and focusing all your efforts on that is incredibly, I would say, paramount at this point, and very important, due to the fact that not only in Italy, but around the world as well, even here in the United States, where, I mean, most states have not like a shelter in place where everyone's forced to stay inside, but it's more of a stay at home thing. So most places are closed, but you're able to kind of go outside as long as you're keeping your distance away from people. So most people are sit at home, not doing as much, and they're sitting on their computers, they're on their phones, they're online. And where are they spending most of their time on? They're spending on social media, looking at what their friends are doing, looking at what the people that they follow are doing, whether it's celebrities, actors, actresses, musicians. And if there's so many people looking at their phones right now or looking online, if you are playing in that platform right now with your music and trying to get people to listen to your music and get a larger audience, focusing on social media right now is incredibly important, and that just shows the resilience if you're able to really work with that.
But
because
go Davide.
It's funny because before this Skype call, I just was watching a live stream from a local manager of bands, and in this period, which I'm all the time at home, I'm spending my time to focus on something about marketing, because I think that the really X factor of bands nowadays is not even the music, rather than the marketing part. For the reasons you said before, the market is crowded by a lot of products. So the only thing that can make people hear you is to do a proper marketing for your products. And we are trying to figure out the best ways to do it, because it's really important, the current days.
I would say, given the current situation, everyone is trying to figure it out because life is completely different. However, the one thing you have to do is, there are going to be people that think they figure it out right away, where it's, we're just going to be doing live streams, or we're going to end up doing something like just, I'm going to use Skillet as an example as well, because their lead singer and their rhythm guitarist, who are both, they're married to each other. They've been doing acoustic piano covers of their songs maybe like once every 2 or 3 days. So it's they're putting stuff out there to connect with the fans. However, because there are so many people doing it, it's something that, if you have potential to do it, I would say do it, but you have to look and think, what's next? What else can we do? I mean, podcasts are a great way to go about it, but I'll use Dave Grohl, lead singer of the Foo Fighters, as an example, because on his Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, like once a week, he is putting out this whole entire thread of some ridiculous story over the course of his life that you've never heard before. Like, is something from his childhood, something like walking into a strip club that I think it was Pantera owned. I'm not entirely sure, but it was something where it's these ridiculous stories. But what it's doing is it's getting people's attention, it's getting people to look and listen and really get into what's going on. And I'm trying to use.
Yeah, he's an incredible guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more examples right now, but my head's kind of blanking.
I saw yesterday the video which While She Sleeps put up on their Instagram profile. I think that they are starting a series of videos on their socials to entertain people with like them doing stuff during the quarantine, and it was so funny. Like it was shown the guitarist who like was doing he was trying to write some music, and he wasn't able to came up with a right idea, and he was so funny. Like just go to watch it because they are incredibly good to manage social media. I love While She Sleeps, and I love their approach to the fans. They are the best in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also, making a release in this moment, which take everyone by surprise, it's also proves that when people listens to you, even in this moment, as you said, everyone is looking at their phones, maybe because we are quarantined, but maybe in this moment, which is very difficult, you got so much reply sometimes, even in little things that for us, that we are a starting band, this is our second single, and the feedback, the positive feedback we get from some users and people on social media right now, because we can't have any other contact, is really beautiful, because you are closed, but you still hear that people are listening and people are supporting, and it's giving positive feedback, and so it's a way to keep everyone up and making work together to make everyone feel better, but also making the music come out and making people feel better.
I'm actually want to jump on that real quick, because what you're saying, you released the Yellowstone single and you're seeing a lot of positive feedback from the fans, and you're seeing it on comments on YouTube, comments on Instagram, comments on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you might be on social media. But especially with being quarantined right now, you have a lot of time to sit down and reply to those comments, to give your thanks and connect with the fans. And that is something that a lot of bands, especially as they start to grow, I think gets lost a little bit, just because it's very understandable. They're busy. They can't, like some of the like incredibly big bands, like I'll use Five Finger Death Punch as an example. They can't respond to each of the 30,000 comments that are left on an Instagram post. They just can't. But if they respond to maybe 100 of them, then you're really connecting a lot more with the fans. And this is not just when everyone's in quarantine. This is when you're out, when everything's back to normal and you're touring. If you're taking the time to really connect with the fans, that's going to end up growing your fan base and also growing your band overall. That's one thing I try and do with all the stuff that I have. Anytime someone comments on my stuff, I want to respond to it. I mean, it might not be right at that moment, but I want to respond to it. So there's a connection going on there. There's a dialogue going on there. I did that a lot at the end of 2019 because I always put out my year-end awards for best album, best song, most surprising album, but then I also have 3 that are more negative, like most disappointing album, worst song, and worst album. And it's always on the worst. I always get the most amount of criticism, but it allows me to connect with the fans of a completely different band. They have completely different bands or like a genre that maybe I don't really care for, and talk to them and understand why they like that music, why they like that genre. And ends up becoming something where they might not like my picks, but it's not like it's not like I'm, going against their favorite band because, I just don't like them. No, it's because I'm not necessarily sure on that. I don't really like that sound, but I know you do. So we get in a dialogue about it, and it actually turns out very well. So that's one thing you can remember going forward from this as well, where when you have people comment on your stuff, just respond to them. It means so much to them if all of a sudden a band that they really like is putting out something and comments on it. And I'll use one of mine as an example. When I was doing the year-end awards, because I always did like a fan vote and then my pick. So best song of the year, the fan vote pick was for Your Number's Up by Ice Nine Kills, which was their release or their special release on their extended version of the Silver Scream. And I got a big thumbs up from Spencer Charnas on that one. I was like, yeah. But wait, I was like, but wait, that wasn't my pick. That was the fan pick. Shoot. Because I put out my pick and I was like, I don't think the person who made this song's gonna, give me a thumbs up or a like or anything because my pick was Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse. I was like, I don't think Ronnie Radke's gonna come on and be like, yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah. It's really important to get in touch with people in this period we have more time to do it. Personally, I run the social media stuff for my band, and in this period I try to reply to everyone who interact with our pages. It's very important, and I think that if we will have a grow in the years, I'll try to reply to everyone, because as a fan of huge bands, as you said, it's very you are grateful if they show some interest in you, in a fan, which is the person who's keeping the band alive, because the fans are the true force behind a band, I guess.
I would say one of the things too is it also helps not only the band grow, but the fans grow as well. Or, say someone like myself with trying to, create this huge entire thing with a podcast, a YouTube channel, Instagram page, Twitter, Facebook, everything. And so where all of a sudden I'm talking with different bands or trying to get them, featured on a podcast, featured with a video, something like that. And if all of a sudden it's like, yeah, all of a sudden one says yes, like if some huge band says this, I'm like, oh my God, let's go and do this. And then all of a sudden say it works really well and their fans end up liking some of my stuff. But then also some of the fans that I have end up, really liking some other band's stuff. It's just kind of like a give and take thing that really can work out well. And that's just all with responding and just maybe if you want to go and do something, go and do it. But I do want to ask you one question before I really jump into how Yellowstone is constructed, because Davide, I believe you were talking about how there was a manager in Italy that was doing a live stream recently, just talking about the business side of things. Is that correct?
Yes. The stream wasn't working, so I didn't hear correctly what you said. Can you repeat?
Oh, very much so. So you were speaking about how there was a manager in Italy that was doing a live stream recently. Yeah. Do you know what the manager's name was? Because I want to see if it's the one that I've been working with the past couple of weeks.
I guess it was Oli Management, Adam Oli.
It was Adam? No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is incredible. All right, now I'm starting to lose Davide there. Looks like.
Yeah, some little technical issues.
Yeah,
he's gone back.
All right, looks like we might have got him back. Davide, are you back yet?
Do you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Adam, nice guy. Yeah. I think that is really, really into this kind of stuff. He's a top player.
The reason I had to ask though is because the previous two bands from Italy that I have had on the podcast were bands that were managed by Adam. So I was like, I have to ask, because the first one was a metalcore band called Stain the Canvas. And I reached out to them because I wanted, after listening to their debut album, I wanted them on the podcast. And I started talking with Adam and we got it set up. But then all of a sudden, we had it set up. All of a sudden, the quarantine thing was going into effect and everything was starting to get messed up. We were able to reschedule and it worked out. Then another band of his called E-Line, he said he'd get them on for me as well. I'm like, let's go. So I always had to ask if it was Adam.
We play with them 2 times. They are very good. Sick Italian band. Yeah.
Which one are Stain the Canvas, E-Line, or both of them?
E-Line.
Nice, because they're really starting to gain some popularity, especially not only in Europe, but also over here as well. Cause I was taking a look at some of their Spotify stats, and their biggest hub for Spotify listeners was in Chicago here in America. So I was like, wow,
yeah.
okay.
Chicago, I guess, is the most metal city in the world. It's the metal capital of the world.
I would say it is when it comes to streaming, because every band I talk to, it's like they're in the United States, their biggest hub is in Chicago, and I'm sitting here about an hour and a half north of Chicago. So it's like, oh, okay. All right. But now, okay, I've been talking about it. I got to jump into Yellowstone outside of the theme. So one thing I found incredibly interesting about the song when I first heard it was the intro and the first verse, how they transition into each other. Because when I heard the intro, specifically with the guitar parts on there, I thought this was going to be something more of like an alt rock, hard rock song mix. But then it just changes up out of nowhere straight into metalcore. Yeah. And I love kind of the fake out that you did there. But the reason I like it is because it works out. It works out well as you're contrasting the two styles. So you're expecting to get something a little bit softer. All of a sudden, it just goes full force into it. And this was probably me. I was like listening to it because I think I was here, or I was at my mom and dad's house working. And I turned on, I'm like, okay, let's listen to it. All of a sudden, I heard it just go full force in metalcore. And this is my head. It just kind of snapped back like, whoa.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think that do you know the songs from Lamb of God, Ghost Walking?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Grave are this kind of stuff. Like when I was a child, I loved these songs because they start so quiet, and then they throw you in a mosh pit. Like it's awesome. These songs are awesome. Yeah.
Actually, we it's interesting because we are experimenting from time to time with this kind of melodies, which are like arpeggios or really simple kind of melodies, very constant, which are maybe something rock-like, something maybe that can remind you of some more classic sounds. Which are and we are experimenting a lot with that over metalcore and hardcore based stuff. Also, a very interesting thing here is that we are all writing together. We are actually really 5 people putting their ideas on their work, and there's a very interesting.
Oh darn! No, we lost Lorenzo. It's Lorenzo's turn this time. Yeah, I lost you for a little bit, for about maybe 5 seconds.
There's some kind of little technical issues, but I was saying there's really the mix of 5 people in those songs, and also this kind of particular approach, starting with soft and maybe.
And it happened again. I'll say it might just be we might honestly just be in a time right now where the Wi-Fi or the internet connection, the bandwidth in Italy might just be very high right now, because it's about 7:00 your time, correct?
Yeah.
So it might just be very, very, very busy right now. So
everyone is watching Netflix at the moment. Yeah.
We should tell them to get up and stop watching Netflix. We're working here.
A lot of people here is actually at home right now, which is probably the reason that the Wi-Fi is terrible. But actually, we like those kind of sounds, and we are trying to reply those sounds in our future songs. And this approach inspires us a lot.
Well, especially with looking at, I looked on Spotify and you had the Yellowstone single, and then you had the Dan Forth single, and that was it so far. But I'll get into that a little bit later. But going back into Yellowstone, I think the thing that surprised me the most, even more so than that instrumental intro where you went from that alt rock, hard rock, to all of a sudden metalcore, I was like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? Was when you got to the chorus, because it it wasn't clean. It wasn't like real clean with the vocals, especially with the backing and from the rest of the band. It sounded like there was, a little bit more of like a hard rock kind of vocal style there. But the thing that I found the most interesting that I haven't really seen from, many other bands, and I'm not talking bands that are like the big metalcore bands or metalcore bands in the US, from metalcore bands throughout Europe, is when they're singing like with the clean vocals, so you're not screaming, it sounds very much like, a lot of other bands. When I heard it from you guys with Waves in Autumn, I could hear, like, especially because you guys were speaking English on that, I could hear the Italian accent in your singing vocals as well throughout that. And that was something that I found incredible due to the fact that I haven't heard that really from any other band. And it gave your vocals from the rest of the band so much more depth because no one else is really having that kind of a sound. It was awesome.
It's funny because the chorus are recorded by me and David, the guitarist, the other guitarist, and Michael, the drummer, which are brothers. So they have like a very similar voice, but it's not the same. And this chorus like blends together so well. And also they have a very similar pronunciation. So it's very good I love how they came out. I love how the chorus came out. It's also because it was a melody which I was stuck in my head when I was writing it. And then also Michael helped me to put some notes and some harmony over it. And we came out with this chorus, which is so simple, but so direct and catchy. And I love it. I really love that chorus. Yes.
No, I'm incredibly glad I praised that chorus before you even got a chance to speak, Davide, because then what I think that does is it shows that what you set out to do with that chorus is what came across in the song, especially to someone who had never heard your sound before.
Yeah. It's really the direction we would like to take in the future. This kind of way of doing things, of doing music. So yeah, I get the inspiration for this kind of stuff came from Chris Lake. I don't know if you heard that they do a lot of stories in their music. Do you still?
It looks like we got a little bit of a cutoff there as well.
Yeah.
Man, everyone's watching Netflix now. Come on. I don't.
Yeah. You know we.
Maybe.
Oh wait, maybe.
My sister is on Netflix, so maybe because of.
Also, we have to tell your sister to kick your sister off of Netflix or something for this because it. I mean, we went. I mean, if you're watching the video, I mean, we went full frozen on this one from Davide.
Yeah.
I mean, that might end up being like the whole entire. Okay, now the picture changed.
Something moved. No.
Let's see what we got.
It's still stuck.
It's still stuck, but we got the. Oh, but now we're getting more picture changes though.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we got him back now. So let's give this another shot.
Okay. Yeah. Like the inspiration from this type of melody, harmony, and choruses came from Crystal Lake, the Japanese metalcore band. I love them. It's the best band I've seen live. They are so powerful. They are incredible. Best inspiration, I guess, for the vocal style, which I'm into, especially when we have to write very catchy stuff and melodies. All
right, I'm just gonna tell you what my overall thought process was on Yellowstone, because I have a whole entire thing written out for it. We kind of went through what I want to talk about instrumentally and with the vocals. So what I have was overall, it's a good song with a nice metalcore sound to it. The bait and switch at the beginning from the alt rock to the hard rock and then the metalcore was fantastic. The real standout part on this track is the chorus. And overall, I am very interested to see what Waves in Autumn does next going forward after Yellowstone.
Yeah. We've got something on. I guess we are going to do something really near, but there's we have some things which we want really to share. At the right time, we are gonna put up some really interesting news.
We are cooking something really. We like to vary the type of song which we have, but where we stick to our sound, obviously. So there will be something maybe harder and something softer, but we will stick to that sound, to Yellowstone sound.
I mean, you can stick to the sound. You can. What I always think of it as if you stick to the song that's really at your core and you experiment off of that. That's what really works in the grand scheme of things to the best effectiveness. And I'll use Ice Nine Kills as an example, because listening to their third album, their fourth album, I mean, it's good, hard metalcore. But then on their fifth album with the Silver Scream, you get a song like Stabbing in the Dark, which is just even harder than you would expect an Ice Nine Kills song to be. And it's fantastic. But then they go softer on a song like A Grave Mistake, and that might be the best song on the record. So when you're playing around with your sound, as long as you are really making sure that, you know, that core sound that you really want to have is still there, I believe that's when it really comes out with the best kind of experimentation, because you're sticking with what you love and you're trying something new. So I'm not going to make you guys like announce anything, because I never want to do that, especially if you're not ready to go on that and do that. So nothing of the sort. But so we've gone through Yellowstone, and I know you guys got some stuff on the horizon, but not sure when to release it, because, you know, the situation that we're in with the whole entire quarantine thing, how you want to go about that. On top of that, we also might not be ready. Who knows? You never know. So outside of that, so we've kind of gone through the story of Waves in Autumn. We've talked about what you guys are doing now. We've talked about Yellowstone as a single, which I hope to God everyone listens to. And if you don't listen to it after this podcast, just wait, and then all of a sudden we'll feature it, and at the end of the month you'll be like, oh, that was the song? Oh, now I know what he was talking about with that chorus. But I also want to talk about some other things I saw when I was looking at you guys trying to do some preliminary research. I saw that you guys have played with some of these bigger bands that I've recognized and have featured on the not on the podcast, but on the Song of the Day selection beforehand. So you guys spoke about E-Line as well, opening for them, which got me real excited due to the fact that I got to speak with them last week. I just got to speak to their guitarist, Bruno, but I still got to speak to them last week. But I've seen that you guys have opened up for bands like Miss May I and D's Nuts.
Yeah, we had some really incredible opportunities, because one of the managements and the organizers we are in touch with, especially Davide, is in touch with. It's Versus Music Project, which is based in Milan, and they really organize some incredible lives. And the real first big, and thrilling things for us was when they proposed us to open for Miss May I, which is a band that I think every one of us listened for a lot of time. And we were like, oh my God, really? For that band? And it was like, this opportunities comes because the guy who's organizing back there in Versus Music Project is really doing an incredible work to bring these bands in Italy and to put local bands and to give opportunities to guys like us. And
looks like we
lost me.
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit. It started getting a little staticky, and I didn't want to cut you off. So I was like, oh, it might come back, it might not. But then again, I'm just gonna before we get back going into that, I just want to say for everyone listening out there, for those who have listened this far, even with the technical difficulties, thank you. But it's just with the fact of the matter is, with everyone online right now in quarantine, not only in Italy but also the United States, the Wi-Fi connection might not necessarily be the best, especially with all the traffic in there. So that's why stuff like this is happening. So this is something like, oh, it's not easily fixed. This is something completely out of our control. So we thank you for sticking with us, but please continue.
Yeah. I was saying that I was talking about Versus Music Project, which is really gave us incredible opportunities. And the story about how we get there is some way better to be told by Davide, because he knows the guy and he knows how actually we had the opportunity. But for me in particular, These Nuts, Miss May I, and also the Metalcore Emergency Festival, which we opened the day which had the hand Sepultura played, were like some incredible opportunities, and it's astonishing also for us. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I think that one of the goals which an underground band like us could have is to open for bands which you like a lot. And Miss May I and These Nuts and Sepultura are definitely a case of bands which we enjoyed a lot back in the days and nowadays. And we had the opportunity of opening to them. It's really, it's incredible because you are like, I was like 16 and I was buying the snapback of Miss May I, and I didn't have imagined that the next year I opened for them. So that's so strange, but so cool. Like, yeah, right. August 2016, I bought the snapback of Miss May I. August 2017, I opened for them. So yeah, cool. That's cool. Yeah. Also, the opportunity of playing before Sepultura here in near our hometown was very challenging, because we never played on a stage like that. It was a festival, a local festival, very huge. And we played on a stage which was awesome, so huge, and everything set up so well. Like, it was heaven for us. It was heaven for us. Yeah.
I was gonna say, that sounds like everything coming full circle for you, Davide, where all of a sudden, yeah, I'm buying a snapback for Miss May I. Then all of a sudden the next year, hey, instead of buying a snapback, I'm on stage right before him. What now, everybody? Just shows the passion and the relentless pursuit to make sure what you want to have happen in life is going to happen. And that's one thing that we've talked about that earlier, and it's really something that you brought out in Yellowstone as well. And it just shows that you're also talking from experience on that point, due to the fact that if you didn't work hard to learn how to scream and scream the best way possible, didn't really focus on your music, you never would have opened for Miss May I. So when it comes full circle, it just shows that, that's a victory right there, that you went from buying a snapback for Miss May I to opening for Miss May I. Now it's just also, what's the next step? What's the next thing to accomplish? And you got the single out. So it's like, what's the next thing when it comes to what bands you might want to open for? Then all of a sudden it might turn into if you're making an album, if all of a sudden you're able to go on tour throughout Europe with just an incredibly large band that's looking for like a a European opener. You never like August Burns Red. You may never know that could easily happen. Then all of a sudden you're just growing to the point where you're headlining these tours around Europe, and then you're headlining tours all across the world in Asia, over in South America, here in the U.S. I mean, you're definitely on the trajectory towards that, especially when you're going from buying a snapback from Miss May I to opening for him to releasing a single right during the midst of this whole entire quarantine thing, and really getting a lot of people's attention on it, getting their eyes on it, getting their ears on your music, and all the positivity that you're seeing from it. So you're definitely moving in the right direction. But the real question is what's the next goal?
Yeah. The next goal, I guess, for an Italian band, the standard is going on tour in Europe, because here in Italy, the attention is not so much for metal and this kind of music. So our goal is definitely to have some really good shows in foreign countries, because this is, I guess, the goal of every band, like having an amount of people that gets wider in connection with them. And the best way to connect with people for a band like us is with live shows. So we are aiming to go in other states and do shows. This is our goals for the future, definitely.
Yeah. Then we also, this is like our main direction, and into this project, into this idea, the practical is that we are really pushing a lot on the composition, on the creation of new material, and planning very carefully what will be the next release, promotion, and how to get in touch with more people. So as you were saying before, like with social media, get in touch or reply to people, and as soon as we can, as soon as things will go better, we really can't wait to be on the stage again and to greet everyone and to really have some really good time. Then actually in the next years we will push a lot, and the next real goal, as Davide was saying, is go playing in front of people somewhere in other countries. Italy is beautiful, but it's not really that easy to find not the attention rather than the possibility, because there are not in where we are in northern Italy. It's good, but it's not so easy to find everywhere places where you can actually play. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is from bands that I've talked to and people that I've talked to is, it seems like you got to start playing shows when you're able to. You got to start moving north over to Austria, over to Slovakia, over to the Czech Republic, and of course the behemoth with metal music that is Germany.
Yeah.
That would be a dream. Yeah, absolutely. Playing in Germany will be a dream, because people follow so much that kind of music there. And we will love to play in cities in Germany.
Yeah, but when it comes to the time that we're living in right now, where no one's sure when anyone's going to get back on the stage, it's paramount that you are staying creative, whether it's making new music, making new material, promoting Yellowstone, promoting the band, whatever it might be. It's like, this is the time to be paramount, to be creative, because you can think about playing all those live shows, but right now when no one really knows when that time is going to resume, it doesn't do well to, dream about it, when at the time that we're in right now, you can really do a lot in order so that when it does come back and you're like, well, I dream about playing in these places, you're 1 or 2 or 3 steps closer to playing in those places.
Yeah, we are working towards this direction, you said, exactly. And, we have, as I was saying before, few surprises coming on the horizon. And we are really, can't wait for just share with people what we are preparing.
Yeah.
And we will keep those surprises a surprise because, well,
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin the surprise. I'd feel horrible if I did.
Yeah, there's some pretty long we planned, we are still planning, but I can assure you that it's gonna be soon. I can promise this.
I'm gonna have to put up a big sign that just says "soon" right above you. When you said that, just soon. So now, I say when you're saying soon, now you're starting to pull something like 30 Seconds to Mars pulled back in 2017. Just soon? What does soon mean? And of course, there was me back then. I'm like, soon? When soon? Soon? When is it? But soon is soon. So we will find out at some point. Well, guys, we've done like an hour and 15 minutes. I do have another podcast I have to shoot today. So
Okay.
yeah. I'll say when it comes down to it, it's just, especially with my time, because I'm still have a full-time job and I'm still able to work. So when it comes to doing all this stuff, like I want to do as much as possible. So I got to condense everything into like my weekend days. So I got another podcast coming up in a short bit. But on that note, I'm going to send you both on your way to continue to be creative and get those surprises ready for us, because I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Yeah, we will hit you up as soon as we have something. That's a promise.
Yeah. Once you have something in the, like, I would say this, once you have something ready to go and you know the date that it's going to come out, let me know ahead of time so that when that comes out on that day, I can do something to help promote.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Davide, Lorenzo, it was an absolute pleasure having you guys on the Chord Progression Podcast. I want to thank you, and I want to make sure that I say this. Please stay healthy out there, guys, because we want to end this freaking virus and get back to life as normal so that we can keep rocking out at live shows.
Yeah, we will do that. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and really stay safe. You are incredible. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, thank you very much. All right, guys. Have a good night, and there goes part of my mic, so see ya.
Bye.
Well, that was our conversation / interview with Lorenzo and Davide of Waves in Autumn, another Italian metalcore band that you should be listening to. I do apologize for the somewhat technical difficulties due to the fact that, yes, when we shot this, it was, more that early evening time, late afternoon over in Italy, and with everyone in quarantine over there, everyone's on the internet, so the bandwidth just wasn't necessarily the best. But you know what? I want to thank you guys for sticking with us. We did our best in order to make that happen. And when we get some more surprises from Waves in Autumn, you want to know when they come out? I'll know. So when they do come out, you're going to find it on the My Song Day Rock 2000 Day page. So that is it for me today. We've got plenty more podcast episodes coming up for you, not only in the future, but this week alone, we've got 3. So get ready, because it's YouTube video podcast. They're coming at you all the time. So get ready for those. I want to thank you guys for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Sunday Rock 2000. Today, we got another episode coming up on Thursday the 9th, so get ready for that. Until then, you know who it is. This is Kevin from the My Sunday Rock 2000 Today presents the Chord Progression Podcast. And you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty